Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is directed by Sam Raimi and stars Benedict Cumberbatch, Elizabeth Olsen, and among others. And in this story, it deals with Doctor Strange, who is essentially having to, not going to go into too much detail, but he has to basically protect this girl named America Chavez, who is being hunted by some forces, and along the way, they also encounter Scarlet Witch. And I'll leave it at there because there's stuff in here I can't go into detail with. Now, here's some backstory. Now, this is the 28th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I've been actually looking forward to this movie for quite a while because originally it was going to be directed by Scott Derrickson, who originally directed the first Doctor Strange movie, and there were some creative differences that happened where Scott Derrickson left, and then they had to bring Sam Raimi on board, and it got me really hyped because seeing that Sam Raimi is now going back to superhero movies again after doing the Spider-Man films, I couldn't be even more hyped. And also the fact that they were also trying to make it like the first Marvel Cinematic Universe as a horror film, that got me interested too. And so I got really excited with this, especially with all the build up that I was bringing with it, is with Spider-Man No Way Home and how it was going to basically set up with the whole multiverse angle. And I can honestly say that after upon seeing the film, I did like it. It was definitely enjoyable. I didn't quite like it as much as the first film, but I still thought it was pretty solid. And so, to get my pros out of the way, I thought the performances in this were fantastic, especially Benedict Cumberbatch, who I thought was, amazing as usual. He brings a lot of his, A-game like he has been with this character for a while, and I like how his relationship that kind of builds with America Chavez in this was very heartwarming. It was very endearing, and he is also learning a lot as he goes slowly, even though he's already experienced throughout the film. And so I thought that was a nice way of getting his character to go more on this journey. And then the other performances I think that really sound the best for me was definitely Elizabeth Olsen. I have always liked her as Scarlet Witch ever since I've seen her in the other films, and especially in WandaVision that I finally got a chance to watch. And I thought that she really stole a lot of the scenes in this film, especially there are parts where she's definitely going for it as Scarlet Witch and stuff. And again, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but let's just say that she comes across as very intimidating at times, and she also has some moments that are pretty... like she really goes for it like that I've never seen her before in these movies. And so I thought she was definitely one of the biggest highlights. And, the rest of the cast were also great too, especially Benedict Wong, who plays Wong in this again. And I also got to really appreciate the direction in this, because this is, coming from a lot of the Marvel films, it's been given that a lot of directors that are like well known have brought a lot of their stuff to movies, like what Shane Black did with Iron Man 3 and stuff, and while it's there in certain movies, it's not all the way given. I think with this one, it seemed like they were letting Sam Raimi do a lot of things in this one that were showcasing more of him, that was showcasing more of the director's style that we haven't really seen much in the other MCU films. Because in this one, you get a lot of great shots and a lot of sequences that are very horror-esque, that reminds me a lot of Sam Raimi's old classic Evil Dead trilogy. And funny enough, there's actually something that involves this movie that involves a book, and there's also a lot of sequences toward the end that really go for it as far as Raimi's style with a lot of the close-ups. And for a PG-13 film, they actually get away with some pretty brutal stuff that I didn't think they would do in this kind of movie. And so, if there's a balance between PG-13 and R-rating, this is the first example of how they really shine with that, because they definitely do get away with some stuff that I was really shocked to see. And to get into some other pros, I really like the way that the movie develops a lot with Scarlet Witch as a character, because in this story arc, it really, you get to see a lot more of the stuff that surrounds her after the events that take place in WandaVision. And for those of you who haven't really seen WandaVision, I think with watching that show, it really helps kind of pick up where we're at in this one, because there's a lot of things that result in a great, journey with her in this movie that I thought really shined. And then, of course, there's also some other, nice little Easter eggs and stuff that, well, it's in the trailer, so I'm not really going to give away, too much, but if you know certain things, characters that show up in the film, that's kind of given, you already know kind of from the trailers. But when this sequence does happen, I thought it was pretty interesting to see, and it does make me really wonder, where it's going to go in the future with this, with where we are, where this whole structure, this whole plot basically is going in the future with it. But I'll leave it there. But anyway, to get into my other some pros, I will say also one of the other biggest things I like is the Danny Elfman score in this. Now, I've always admired Danny Elfman as a musician, and a lot of his stuff that he's done with Sam Raimi in the past, especially with the Spider-Man films, are always great. But with this one, I really appreciate the fact that he was able to blend in, some this kind of like hard rock kind of score that really made it stick out compared to a lot of the rest of the MCU films. Because I'll be honest, other than some of the Avengers films and some of the other movies in the MCU, I gotta admit that a lot of times the score of a lot of the MCU movies don't always have like a very memorable like music to them. But with this one, it really got me pumped, and there are a lot of sequences that are very intense and haunting, and it really blends in with Danny Elfman's score in this. But now, if I'm going to get into some of my cons, I will say that while I did appreciate where the movie was going as far as the plot line with Scarlet Witch and everything, I did feel like there's some stuff that I don't know if it was either cut out or if it wasn't really established a whole lot with, to where they seemed like they could have really built a whole lot more up with where the plot line was going with their character. Again, I can't go into detail, but it really feels like there was a lot more longer of a film than what they had in mind, because from what I heard originally was that the movie was supposed to be about 2 hours and I think 40 minutes or so, and seeing that the movie is only about 2 hours and 6 minutes, it's really, you could tell that there are sequences in the film that either they had to reshoot or they had to cut out because of some other stuff, and it seems like we're missing a whole chunk of it that Sam Raimi intended to do with the movie. And that's kind of a shame, because since this is Sam Raimi's foray back into the comic book world, especially after Spider-Man 3, it just seems like the studio is, letting him do what he wants, but only to like a certain extent. And so, I don't know if this is the first time the MCU has ever encountered that issue, at least with the main MCU franchise, but it seems like there's a lot of sequences, especially in the trailer, that we didn't get in the actual movie. And then there's also some stuff to where the tone itself, well, some of the humor that's present, like early in the beginning, can be a little like jarring and not quite as funny. And there is some stuff that I feel like they could have established more with America Chavez's character, because it feels like she is along with the journey with the movie, but we still don't really get a lot of like who she is, because we get basically like a quick backstory and stuff, but she's really kind of just thrown in there and not really given a whole lot of stuff to really establish her character. So I thought that was one of my other issues, where I felt like the actress that played her was good, but I think that there's still more to her character that we haven't yet seen. And I'm sure they'll probably establish more in the future with it, but it does feel like they were glossing over some important stuff the way that she's carried along with the plot. But other than that, though, I still had a blast with this movie, and I think that it really held strong with one of the better entries that we've had with the MCU, with the Phase 4. It's probably my second favorite after Spider-Man No Way Home, but I still quite enjoyed it. And with that, I'm going to give the movie a high compelling grade on the Film Freaks meter. So, for those of you who have also seen Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and also the other MCU films, let me know in the comments below what you thought about it. And thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you in my next review. I'll see you later.